Chapter 2, The Landing in North Hudson Park. Part 2. So, from the moment that George Obarski's radio started to act up to the time the UFO lifted from the ground and left, the time was around 4 minutes. And at the bottom of the hill by the park, there are some apartment buildings. And they're called Stonehenge apartments. And those apartments, they have a doorman 24 hours a day. And that particular night, there was a doorman. And Budd Hopkins, when they were investigating on site, they went to speak to the doorman. His name was Eddie over there buzzing. And Eddie said that there were two men working that night that George saw the UFO in the park. But those guards, those doormen, left for other jobs. And one of the doormen that worked that night was Bill Pulaski. And he reported a weird incident that a glass window became shattered. And he didn't know what caused the window to shatter. And Eddie didn't know what happened to Pulaski. They did not keep in touch. But Eddie gave the address to Budd Hopkins. And it is mentioned that there has been many accounts of small figures from UFOs, that the small figures have collected air samples and removed plants from farms. And when George Obarski saw the UFO, he didn't tell anybody, not even his son, because he didn't want to deal with the ridicule that comes from telling people that you saw a UFO, especially back then that there was more stigma. And he felt like a lot of pressure to share what he saw. And for some reason, he picked Budd Hopkins to tell the story, even though he thought that maybe Budd Hopkins was not going to be a sympathetic listener. So Budd Hopkins began looking for Bill Pulaski, the doorman, and he became difficult to locate, mostly because he worked security at night and during the day he was sleeping and he would unplug the phone. So Budd Hopkins finally got a hold of Pulaski, and he said that he did remember something frightening that happened on that January. He said that it was around 2 or 3 in the morning, and he noticed extremely bright lights shining down the hill towards him, and the lights were horizontal. They were a horizontal row between 10 to 15, and they were regularly spaced. And something weird was that the lights appeared to be about 10 feet off the ground, and he could make out a dark mass surrounding the row of lights. So when Pulaski saw this, he walked over to the window to get a better view, and he decided to call a tenant in the building to tell him about it. So he turned to the phone to dial the number, and he began to speak, and then he heard like a high-pitched vibration and a sudden crack, and the lobby window became broken. And when he looked up to the hill, the lights were gone. He called the police, and they came to investigate, but they noticed that whatever struck the glass did not come through. So there was not a clear explanation of what caused the glass to crack. And Pulaski did not tell the cops about the lights because he did not want to be seen crazy. Pulaski told the cops to drive around the park to see if they would see something, but they didn't. Then Budd Hopkins asked Pulaski if he told anybody else about the UFO that lived in the apartment building. And Pulaski said that he told the story to a man. His name is Al Del Gario. And Del Gario was a police lieutenant. And that night, when he came to the apartment buildings around 6:30, Pulaski told him what happened about the UFO. And Budd Hopkins asked Delgario about what Pulaski said. And Delgario said that Pulaski said that there were some lights that came down in the park. And he thought that he was crazy, that he was drinking or something. And Budd Hopkins noted that Pulaski's story confirmed, like it matched what George Obarski was saying. Like the two accounts match. And that seemed that gave more credibility to Obarski's account.